everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we're talking about rejection. We're gonna get into the psychology behind rejection. So why do we feel rejected when people say no to us or reject us, right? Like, why does it hurt us? And then I'm gonna get into some tips and some different mindsets, different ways of looking at rejection to be able to deal with it better, because rejection sucks and it actually doesn't really exist. Rejection is something that we allow to happen, but we'll get into that. First, I just want to invite you to check out my website at followyourownrhythm.com, where I have a bunch more resources on personal and spiritual growth. I have some blogs, I have free resources that you can download in my resource library, and I have some online courses and workbooks as well to help you on your journey. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for future videos and like this video if it resonates with you. Okay, so let's talk about rejection. By definition, rejection is a refusal or a dismissal of a proposal or an idea or a person. So in this case, we're talking about you, me, ourselves, right? Like, so when we get rejected by life, we get rejected by people, we get rejected by opportunities, by workplaces, by just any kind of scenario. Usually when the outside world responds with a no to us, or a disagreement with us, disagreement with our opinion or our belief, or like they don't want us around, right? So like it could be a person that you're dating and then you break up and you still want to be with them and they break up with you, so you feel rejected. Or you have a crush on someone and you approach them and they say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. So in a love type of relationship, obviously rejection's a huge thing. I think it hurts the most when you are emotionally involved, but rejection's also a thing in everyday life. Like, I mean, it could be with a job. You apply to a job, you have a great interview, you thought, and then you don't get the job. They say, no, I'm sorry, you're not the right candidate. Or you go to a restaurant and you're trying to get a table and they say, sorry, we don't have any space, we're all booked up. You know, it could be little things like that too in life. Like, rejection is really just life, the outside world, not giving you what you want. And we take it personally because we think it's about us. We think it's because we are not good enough, because we are not worthy. That's why, you know, this person rejected me. That's why this job rejected me. That's why this restaurant rejected me. That's why, and like, I think we can move past it a little bit better when it's like a smaller thing in life, because we don't take it personally. It's like, well, that person doesn't know me. Like, they're not rejecting me. It just is what it is. Like, the restaurant's full. Like, I can't get a table. So that's understandable, right? We rationalize that and we understand and we're like, okay, cool. But we can't rationalize like a heartbreak or somebody who's really close to us, who knows us, who really knows us, or even like an interview that you have. So you've opened yourself up now to this person, to this institution, and then they go off and reject you. They go off and say no to you. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to continue on with you. I'm sorry, you're not for me. I no longer like you. I don't think you'd be the right candidate for this. And it's like, the reason that hurts us even more is because now we have invested ourselves emotionally into this situation. We have opened ourselves up. We have shown who we are. And now they reject us. Now we have a reason to think it's us. Like, when you go to a restaurant, like, obviously you haven't really opened up to them. So when they say, no, I don't have a table for you, it's like, okay, cool. Like, obviously it has nothing to do with me because they don't even know me. Like, how could they, you know, you don't take it personally. It's easier not to take it personally. But when it comes to like that kind of an emotional situation where you are invested already emotionally and you've become vulnerable and you've opened yourself up to be known and to be seen, and then you get rejected, you start to analyze and you start to think that it's me. Like, it's me that they're rejecting. They know me and they're still rejecting me. I must not be good enough. Yeah, and that's where all the pain happens, right? That's where all the heartache and the pain comes from, because it really makes us question our own self-worth. It really makes us question our value as a human being, as a person. So I'll talk about that later, like why that all is, and hopefully give you some perspectives that will help shift that. But as far as that whole mindset that gets created, so this is how it happened. Like, this is the psychology of it. Like, this is how it got created within us. This is how it got programmed, you know, because as we grow up, like, the types of parents that we have really influences our mindset and the way that we view ourselves, depending on like our parents. And for the most part, all of our parents were dealing with some sort of unresolved issue within them that they were projecting onto us. So it's like they were giving us their baggage. And as children, we knew nothing better. Like, we didn't know any better. So we absorbed it and we're like, okay, so that's who I am, or that's, you know, the level of my worth. It's really just a byproduct of parenting and unconscious parenting, and also programming and conditioning and all of those things that created these mindsets that we have today that determine how we deal with rejection, for example. Okay, so the psychology behind it. So when we're kids and let's say we get neglected by our parents or rejected by our parents. So rejection we took as children as a form of like, oh, mommy doesn't want to spend time with me. Mommy's too busy. Mommy's always drinking. Mommy or daddy is always out with their friends. They never look at me. They never see me. They always yell at me. They're always angry. They're always telling me I'm fat. They're always, you know, so whatever your parents are doing that kind of makes you feel unloved and unseen and kind of rejected is a byproduct of your parents being like unconscious in their own way. So obviously it has nothing to do with you as a child and like how you actually are, because you as a child are like the cutest, most innocent, lovable thing ever. Like, there's no way you could hate a child. So when your parents neglect you because of their own addictions, because of their own dependencies, their own insecurities, their own fears of the things they don't want to face within themselves, so they run away, and you know, you might feel as a child neglected. The only way to cope with that as a child, with your child mind, okay, if you admitted to yourself as a child that mommy or daddy are crazy, like they got issues, and what the hell is going on? Like, why am I in this household? Like, how are they able to be my parents? Because they got some problems, you know? Like, they have some drinking problems, they have some drug problems, or if it's not even that extreme, like they're always working, they're obviously like running from something, or they're always yelling at me, like they got, you know, they can't control their emotions. Okay, so as a child, if you were able to actually see it that way and admit to yourself that mommy and or daddy has problems that they need to figure out, you couldn't cope with that as a child. You couldn't accept that reality. Because to you, safety and security is like the most important thing. Like, to a child, that is like one of their necessities, like a need that they have, like an actual need. So if a child was to admit to themselves that mom and dad are not well, and the reason I feel like this, unloved, unseen, unworthy, alone, maybe. And we all feel that, by the way. Like, it happens subconsciously. Like, we might not be aware that we felt like this as children, but for the most part, all of these issues that we have are probably from those types of things. So if we were able to admit that to ourselves as children, our survival, our life would be questioned. It would be at stake. It would be threatened. Our life would be threatened. Okay? And children need survival. They need to know that they are safe, okay? So what do? Instead of putting it on mommy and daddy and seeing like how screwed up they actually are, they take the responsibility onto themselves. They say to themselves, okay, well, it's obviously not mom and dad, because if mom and dad were crazy, then that would mean that I'm not safe. I'm not safe here, and that's not a thing. Like, I can't go there because I have to be safe. I'm 4 years old, like I have to be safe. So it must be me. There must be something wrong with me and who I am and how I am that makes them want to neglect me, that makes them want to treat me in this way. Okay, so then as children, we take the blame on ourselves, and anytime our parents reject us or unavailable to us or yell at us or anything like that, we take the blame, put it on ourselves, and think, okay, this is me. You know, it must be because I'm bad, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or I suck, or I'm stupid, or I'm ugly, or I'm fat, or whatever. Like, okay, so you take the blame for yourself. You think it's you. So this is a mechanism that we create, that we develop, a coping mechanism as children that we create and develop so that we can learn to deal with these types of things, you know, in our household, in our family dynamics. And because as children, we know that the only thing that we can control is ourselves. So that's like our deeper intelligence that tells us as children that, well, the only thing I can control is myself. I can't control mom and dad. Obviously, they're whatever. All I can do is control myself. So maybe if I become good enough, maybe if I become smarter, maybe if I become better and prettier and more athletic and more, then maybe they will love me. Then maybe they'll be normal again. Maybe then they won't neglect me. Maybe then they won't ignore me. Maybe then they won't yell at me. Maybe then they won't call me names. I don't know, it's pretty screwed up, but yeah. You know, so then we take it all upon ourselves because the only thing we can control is ourselves. And this is how the problems begin. And then we grow into adulthood. And now it's not mommy and daddy rejecting us, but it's our lover, our partner, our wife, our husband, our boyfriend, our girlfriend, a new crush, a person that we're dating, a friend, a coworker, a boss, a job, a cashier. And you know, it gets projected onto other people now. So now it's these other people who are like mommy and daddy who rejected us when we were a child, and it must be our fault, this mechanism that we built. I just talked about that. That is now the way that we see rejection from that perspective. So that's why when we get rejected, we think it's about us. We think that we're not good enough and we have to fix ourselves in order to be accepted by others and for them to approve of us. And maybe then they will love us. Okay, so I mean, it's not rocket science to figure out that when people reject us, it really isn't about us, right? I mean, it has nothing to do with who we actually are. Whether people love us, accept us, hate us, dislike us, reject us, it has nothing to do with like who we actually authentically are. They're not rejecting us. They're not rejecting who we are. And I'll go into that too, but like, it's not personal. It's a projection of their own, whatever, fill in the blank, their own limitations, preferences, life experiences, unresolved issues, their pains, their addictions, their dependencies, the way they look at things. You know, somebody might have just a certain taste. They might just have a certain thing that they're looking for. And you just don't align with them vibrationally. Like that is just not their cup of tea, you know? So it's not you personally, it's them. It's them reflecting their own preferences and desires and limitations onto you. So if it's like a bad kind of rejection where they're like talking crap to you and they're just saying really mean things that really don't reflect who you are, that is a reflection of their own anger within that they're just projecting onto you. Okay, you take it as rejection and personal as like, oh my God, this person, you know, I'm not good enough. Oh my God. But really it's just them not being able to deal with their own emotions, haven't processed their childhood pains, and they're just projecting that onto everybody around them. Okay, so a lot of times rejection, when you get rejected by someone, it really has nothing to do with you. It really doesn't. So when we're talking about rejection, I feel like the area that it hurts the most for anyone in their life is with heartbreak. So if you ever gotten your heart broken by somebody, it was probably because they rejected you. It was probably because, you know, you were in love with them, or you really liked them, or you had a crush on them, and they didn't feel the same, right? They didn't have the mutual feelings for you, and or you guys had a relationship and it didn't work out on their end, or they weren't interested anymore and they broke up with you, or they cheated on you, or they lied to you, and you were left feeling rejected. Like, oh great, like I'm not good enough for this person. Like there must be something wrong with me because this person doesn't love me. Like this person wants nothing to do with me. This person doesn't want to spend their life with me anymore. So I think that obviously rejection is the hardest to deal with when it comes to like some sort of a heartbreak, whether it's with like a romantic partner or a family member. It's really just somebody that you really, really love, and they no longer want you in their life. They want nothing to do with you. They don't love you anymore. They cheated on you. They betrayed you in some way. So I think that's the worst. That stings the most, because you know you love them, right? And then they come back and say, I don't love you, like I don't want to be with you. So anyone who's ever gone through a heartbreak knows that that is probably the worst kind of rejection that you can ever face. But I think that it's those types of rejections that really help you realize these types of things about rejection. My second point with regards to that is that rejection hurts, okay? Besides everything that I just talked about, like all of those reasons. Rejection hurts because we are too identified with our false self, the ego. So we believe that we are our ego. So you have your spiritual self and you have your ego self, or your true self, your authentic self, your higher self. The one that's not really attached to anything, the one that just knows it's a loving, compassionate energy being, just detached from this earthly plane. Okay, so that's like our spirit, our soul, our true self. And then we have our human ego, like physical self. And this ego self finds its identity in external things. So our ego self gets our sense of worth, our sense of who we are, from what people tell us, from our role in society, from the job that we have, from our, how much money we make, how much we own, what we have. Anything that can be like measurable is how the ego finds its identity. And so when we as souls are identified more with our ego false self, our lower self, instead of our higher self, that's when people reject us and say stupid shit to us, that's why it hurts us so much, is because our sense of self, because we're identified with the ego, we think we are this, we think we are what the world tells us we are. We're so attached to people's opinions of us. When you're so attached to that, and when people reject you, it literally takes away from who you are. Like it diminishes your sense of self. It's like it attacks who you are. It's literally an attack to yourself, but only if you are attached to this identity, if you're attached to your ego self identity. That's the only way that it hurts us so bad. Because if you know you're a whole perfect being, a spiritual being connected to your spiritual self, and you know that ego is a whole different ballgame, and you're aware of your ego, and you know you're not your ego, then when somebody attacks you and says things to you, you kind of more consciously can look at it and be like, well, okay, that's not really true. Like, that's not who I am. I am not like what they say I am, Or, oh, they have a problem with me being too blunt. Okay, well, I know that being blunt does not define who I am as a being. They have a problem with what I do for a living, and that's why they're leaving me, is because this is what I do, or I don't make enough money, or I don't have enough of this, or, I'm to this, and that's why they're rejecting me. Well, I know that those things are not who I actually am. I know that's just a part of me. It's an expression of me, but that changes all the time. Tomorrow I could be rich. So I was never poor. I was never the identity of poor. If tomorrow I could be rich, because it's always changing and moving. It's not constant. Like who I am with regards to the ego is constantly changing form. So I can't attach myself to those identities. So whenever somebody rejects me based on any of those things, it's like, well, okay, cool. So you're just rejecting my ego? So your ego's rejecting my ego. Okay, I see it clearly now. I'm going to get back to being my true self and not feed into that, because I know that that's not, has nothing to do with who I am. Because who you are is so much deeper than all of that. I hope that makes sense. I hope my hand gestures really help with this. I'm a very visual person. Okay, so the next thing about rejection, and the reason that it hurts us so bad when we get rejected, is because we don't have a solid, so it just builds on the other, we don't have a solid foundation for who it is that we are. So when we don't know ourselves, when we haven't done the self-discovery work, the inner reflection, we haven't become aware of ourselves, of our patterns, of our beliefs, of our true values, what we want in life, who we are, what we strive to be like, our personality traits. Like when we haven't done that work, we're confused. We're confused about who we are. We're just like so not aware of ourselves. We don't even know if we're introverts or extroverts. We're like, I don't know who I am. Oh, let me just keep going through life, you know? It's like if we don't stop and actually study ourselves, study who we are, learn who we are through so many different mediums. Meditation would be a great one to tune into yourself. Like, what do I actually feel? How do I actually think? What are my thoughts? So if we don't become aware of ourselves and like honest with ourselves, then other people rejecting us will hurt even more, will hurt that much more, because you're letting the world define you, right? Like if you don't know yourself, then it's going to be a lot easier to let other people tell you who you are, because you're not solid within yourself. You're not confident within yourself. You don't know yourself. You're lost. So if you don't know if you're funny or not, if you don't know if you're smart or not, and you're waiting for the next person to tell you that you're smart, and then when they tell you that you're smart, you're like, oh, okay, I'm smart. And then the other person tells you that, oh, you actually suck really bad. And you're like, oh, I guess I really suck, because I don't know myself. I'm not stable within myself, you know? And obviously I'm exaggerating, but like, that's kind of what it comes down to, is like, if you don't have a solid foundation and a good relationship with yourself, a good connection with yourself, if you don't love yourself, then anything that people tell you, you will take as gospel. You will believe it. You will be like, okay. And you're gonna be looking for external validation, external approval, and you're going to be looking for external opinions to tell you about you, to tell you about yourself. You want the world to reflect back to you who you are, when you need to know who you are. You know, you don't need them to tell you who you are when you already know who you are. It's like somebody could come up to you and say, oh, you know, you're really kind of mean, like you come off a little harsh, like you're mean or something. And then you're like, thank you, I will think about that. But I have reflected and I know who I am. Like, I know that I'm not just a mean, harsh person. I know I have a lot of love to give. I know, you know, I know the reason that I acted that way toward you right now is because I picked up on your ego and I just did not have time for it, and I'm just being very blunt and straightforward. That doesn't mean that I'm mean. And I'm not saying to rationalize all of your behaviors and not take feedback and criticism. No, but it's just kind of like knowing who you are and like standing up for who you are and being strong within yourself is not going to allow other people to easily get into your bubble and ruin your bubble for you, right? This loving bubble that you created around yourself, for yourself. Just some random person who knows nothing about you who comes in and says, you know, you're too this, or you're like this, or oh, you're such a bitch, or something, you know, anything. It's like, I'm sorry, how do I know you? How do you know me? Like, you have no idea who I am. I know who I am. I'm the one at home with myself. I'm the one out there in the world interacting with life, okay? I know who I am. I know how I deal with things. I'm self-aware. And it's like, if their feedback was genuine, obviously, okay, I'll look at that and I'll see what's going on. But a lot of times these rejections from the world, from other people, are just based on their own unconsciousness. They're based on their own mindsets, limitations, limited perspectives, how they've been conditioned and how they've been, you know, programmed. Okay, and then the last point that I wanted to make on rejection, just to make it easier to not give a crap about people rejecting you, which obviously this is a work in progress. I'm not saying that I've overcome this by any means. This is stuff that I also tell myself so that I can, you know, be like, it's like a reminder for me to be like, that's not rejection, it's not personal, you know. But basically, rejection doesn't actually exist. So rejection is something that we make up in our heads and we allow to happen. Otherwise, rejection really is just people not vibing with us, okay? When somebody says no to you, somebody says they're not interested, they don't want you for this job, you know, they don't want to be in a relationship with you, whatever. It just is just two people not on the same level anymore. You know, it's not because you're bad. It's not because you have problems. It's not because they have problems. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's just like, my path is this way and your path is this way. You know, it's like you're just on different paths, different soul journeys. You vibrate energetically on a different level. Sometimes when people reject you, it's because you're too good for them. It's because you vibrate a lot higher and they can't handle it. Or it could be the other way. Or it could just be you're vibrating, but you're vibrating in different directions. Like, you're just not going in the same direction, like on a deeper soul level. Like, you are not headed in the same, you don't have the same soul journey. Okay, you were meant to meet these people for a period, and they were meant to teach you something. You learn the lessons that you're meant to learn from them, and then you're on your merry way to apply everything that you learned and incorporate it into your life. So a lot of times that's kind of what rejection is. It's really the universe just redirecting you towards something better, something that's more for you. And it's just not an energetic alignment. Like, on the deepest level, whenever somebody rejects you or something rejects you or life rejects you, you know, we sometimes have where like life is just going wrong, everything's going wrong, everything's falling apart. And it's not a specific person or thing, it's just like everything around you is just red light, rain, hail, you know, my lights went out, I don't know, like water was broken, water doesn't work, you know, those types of things, like life hurting you, punishing you, rejecting you. It's all there for a purpose. It's all there for a reason. It's all communicating with you, telling you messages, either because you need to raise your vibration so you stop attracting those types of shitty things into your life, or it's really pushing you to learn a lesson from that, or it's redirecting you to something better, like a different path. But it doesn't really exist. Rejection's not really a thing. It's really just like a re-guidance, like a redirection. It's like to nudge you on a different path. Like, nope, you got rejected from that because that wasn't for you. Like, that wasn't your thing. Here, I have something better for you. Go this way. So yeah, rejection is not personal. It's never about you. It's always about energy and the other person, and somehow you guys just not being able to come together. You're awesome and amazing just the way that you are. You are enough. You are good enough. You're lovable just the way that you are. If people don't like that and they want to reject you, that is on them, not on you. It has nothing to do with how worthy you actually are. And just remember, people can reject you, but never reject yourself. Don't ever reject yourself. Always love yourself, stay true to yourself, and know that you are worthy. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, leave a comment and let me know. Subscribe to my channel. Sending you guys lots of love. I will talk to you soon. Bye.